So what we discussed yesterday? Yesterday we discussed about the guys. What we discussed yesterday? Yesterday we
S3
discussed about yesterday we discussed about the S3, right? S3. What is S3? Simple storage service. So what are the so what we need to learn on this course? So static website hosting, so versioning, lifecycle management, replication, and objects, right? It is the most important topics in the S3 bucket. Now you understand, right, guys? What is S3 and why S3? So functions and concepts of S3 allows unlimited storage of objects containing of 1 byte or a 5 gigabytes of each file. Object consists of a raw object data and the metadata, and the metadata objects are stored and retrieved using a developer assigned key. Data are kept secured from the unauthorized access through authentication mechanism. Objects can made available to a public by the HTTP array biotrend protocol. All objects are stored in a bucket. A bucket is simply a container for objects. It is used for a partition the namespace of the object at the high level. High level buckets are similar to internet domain names. They are accessed via so bucket name dot s3 dot amazon aws.com. Amazon aws.com. Each developer account has a limit of 10 buckets. Each developer account has a limit of 100 buckets. One second, guys. Please change. Okay. So each developer, the bucket name is call it as a bucket name dot s3 dot amazon aws.com. So we can access via HTTP also. Each developer account has a limit of 100 buckets. A key is a unique identifier for an object within the bucket. What is a key? Is the unique identifier for an object within the bucket. A bucket and key are together uniquely identified each object in S3. Every object so every object can be addressed through bucket and key combination. For example, if your bucket name is my bucket and the key is my homepage.html. For example, this is our a static website. The URL of the object will be http:/my bucket. This is the bucket name dot s3 dot amazon aws.com/my home page.html. So this is the how we can access objects via http. Advantage of S3: scalability, availability, unlimited storage, inexpensive and no capital outlet. Data is accessible from any location. Since it is based on the Amazon infrastructure, it is probably more reliable than other cheap data storage providers. Use cases: asset storage and CDN, data storage, static site, backups, mobile store backends, and file distribution. So the examples are asset storage and CDN, and data storage purpose, and static websites and backups and mobile storage backend and file distribution purpose. We are using the AWS S3. Few of the use cases. These are pricing. So what is the pricing? Charges for using S3 is based on the location on your buckets. You are billed according to storage, data transfer, and it out, in and out, and the number of requests per month. There is no minimum free to use S3. You have to pay only what you use. You can view your current charges incurred almost immediately on the S3 portal. So what is a bucket? A bucket is a basic storage unit. A bucket is a basic storage unit in Amazon S3. It is a single level container, no hierarchy supported, and it based on key object association. So detailed subfolders are supported through specific content type, headers, and substring mechanism. Upload and downloads are easy. Renaming a folder, navigation of a complex hierarchy can be problematic. So renaming of a folder and navigation of a complex hierarchy can be problematic. So bucket is a collection of, what is bucket? Bucket is a collection of objects globally unique ID A to Z 0 to 9, max 100 buckets for user, no limit on number of objects. So buckets are equivalent of the directory, single common namespaces across X3, but bucket names can be include slash easy slash objects equivalent of a, so buckets equivalent of the directory. A bucket is nothing but a directory. A bucket is nothing but a directory, single common namespace across S3, but bucket name can be include slash. Okay, objects. What are the objects? S3 buckets. S3 bucket is nothing but equivalent of the directory. A directory is nothing but a bucket. So equivalent of the files. Objects is an equivalent of files up to 5 GB in size, identified by the key. Identify the key. So best practices on naming. Best practices on naming. One second, guys. Please respond. Yeah, best practice on the naming. DNS compatible. Guys, do you know what is DNS? Guys, do you know what is DNS?
Domain name service.
Yeah, what is domain naming services?
It's like whatever the website address or website names are there,
Hmm.
we can represent as in the as the domain name service. Like uh,
Hmm. Like,
we have a certain IPs, right?
hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So something like every server having the IP addresses,
address.
right? IP addresses and host name. Something like, for example, your YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp is deployed on the server, but server is having the IP address. But end user cannot remember the every IP address of the websites, right? YouTube, Facebook. So they created a catchy names called as a DNS, domain naming services. Domain naming services is nothing but a .com, .in, .org, .eu. These all are the domain naming services. Facebook.com, WhatsApp.com, Google.com, these all are the domain naming services. So best practices on naming. DNS compatible FQDN, fully qualified domain naming service allows for we host a watch out for SSL. So no dots. Objects blob don't create a blobs. These are the objects are the blobs. Don't create a, about the file formats. Metadata can be added. So maximum 5 TB of the object. How to access the AWS storage? So accessible using a simple HTTP URLs. How to access the AWS S3 storage? We can access via HTTP URLs. So something like s3amazon.com bucket key, s3amazon.com key, bucket key. where the bucket is a DNS name record pointing to the s3.amazon.aws. So use Amazon AWS Management Console, use Cloudberry Explorer. S3 allows you to specify an access control list for every object in the database. What is that, guys? S3 allows you to specify an access control list for every object in the database. You can set the permissions. So for the owner, for authenticated user, for a specific users, and for everybody. It's even possible to create a public URL that expire at a given date. So it maintains the versions of the object stored in the S3 and recover in case of a data loss. So it maintains a versioning concept. V1.2, V1.2, V1.1, V1.20. These are the versioning. It maintains the versions of the object stored in the S3 recover in case of data loss. So fix related to the one's customer issue. Yeah. So S3 ranges of classes. So S3 standard class for frequently accessed data. So the standard storage, something like a storage standards are S3 standard, S3 standard infrequent access, S3 standard infrequent access, and Amazon Glacier. Glacier is the cheapest storage. So we can also set up auto policy to migrate data from. So we can also set up a auto policy to migrate data from one class to another class, like a standards to Glacier, etc. Standard to a Glacier, etc. Security in S3 access control list. What are the securities? Access control list. Access control list means we who wants to provide the access. So we can give it bucket policy. So access control list and bucket policy. Bucket policy is public or private. Key authentication. S3 also offer SSL encryption for the data upload and download. So SSL means secure socket layer. So secure socket layer. So these are the securities in the S3 access control list, bucket policy, public or private, key authentication, S3 allow after SSL encryption of the data upload and the download. These are the securities providing. To sign up Amazon S3, go to the Amazon S3 and click the sign up when the on-screen solutions. So once we log into the AWS console, click on the S3 from the storage and the content delivery. So S3. So create a bucket. So where we are ready to create a bucket using the AWS management console. Every object in Amazon S3 is stored in as a bucket. Before we can store data in Amazon S3, we must create as a bucket. So you are not charged for creating a bucket. You are charged only for storing the objects in the bucket and for transferring objects in and out for the bucket. So for creating the bucket, it will not charge. It will not chargeable. You are not charged for creating the bucket. You are charged only for storing objects in the bucket and for transferring objects in the bucket in and out of the bucket. Right, guys? So this is the S3 bucket. Guys, understood, right? Yeah. So to create a bucket is a logical unit storage in Amazon Web Services object storage service. What is that, guys? It's a object
Object.
storage service, simple storage solution. S3 means simple storage solution. Buckets are used to store objects. So buckets are used to store object which consist of data and metadata that describes the data. Sign into AWS console and create a bucket. We know we'll show you how to create the bucket. In create bucket, a dialog box in the bucket name box, enter a bucket name. The bucket name you choose must be unique across all the existing bucket names in the Amazon S3. So in creating a bucket dialog box, in the bucket name box, enter a bucket name. The bucket name you choose must be a unique. So you choose a bucket name must be unique. If you create a bucket as a something like a morning class, morning DevOps class. So morning DevOps class is already created the bucket. You are unable to create the same bucket name. So that's the reason the bucket name you choose must be unique across all the existing bucket names in the S3. After we create a bucket, we cannot change its name. We cannot change its name. In addition, the bucket name is visible in URL that points to the object stored in the bucket. Ensure that the bucket name we choose is appropriate. So we cannot change the bucket, guys. So we cannot change the bucket. So we cannot change the bucket name. In addition, the bucket name is visible in the URL that points to the object stored in the bucket. So ensure that the bucket name we choose is appropriate. In the region box, select the region. For this exercise, select Oregon from the drop-down list. We can choose the region of optimize latency, minimize cost, and address legal requirements. Objects stored in a region never leave that region unless you explicitly transfer them into the another region. So bucket is a related to region. So a bucket is a container for the object stored in Amazon S3. When we create a bucket, you can choose a region to optimize for a latency, minimize cost, and address regular requirements. For more information regarding bucket naming conventions, please visit documentation. So something like we created the bucket. So when Amazon S3 successfully create your bucket, the console displays your empty bucket in the bucket panel. So the bucket name. So create a bucket. So once we click the bucket properties, we can see all the above about something like so the static website, logging, events, versioning, lifecycle, cross-region duplication, tags, request for pays, right? So we already discussed it, right? Static web hosting, a versioning, lifecycle, a replication, objects, right? So these are the concepts in the upload, adding an object guys. Adding an object to the bucket. An object can be any kind of a file, a text file or a photo or a video and so forth. When you add a file to the Amazon S3, you have the option of including metadata with the file and setting permissions to the control access to the file. So in the Amazon S3 console, click the name of the bucket you want to upload an object and then click upload. Then click upload. So in the upload, select the file wizard. If you want to upload an entire folder, you must click enable enhanced uploader to install the necessary Java applet. You only need to do this once per console session. So upload the files are something like, so these are the files, open a file, delete a file, properties, the files, details of the change storage classes. Click on permission to see the change permissions. Right? So this is the S3 guys. I will show you practically. I will show you practically. So what you can do guys, task is so what is the task? I'm showing how to create a bucket through manually. But so how to create a bucket through manually. So what you guys can do, you can create the same bucket. Can create the bucket. Guys, how you can create the bucket? So the same way. So this is the manual process. This is the console. This is the AWS console. Through AWS console. Okay. This is through Terraform. You can create a to Terraform. Guys, understood the task? Guys, understood or not? Guys, speak out, guys.
As bro, AWS console నుంచి మాన్యువల్ గా ఒకటి బకెట్ ఫామ్ నుంచి క్రియేట్ చేయడం మరి.
సో ఏం చేస్తారు అంటే మాన్యువల్ గా బకెట్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి, త్రూ టెరాఫామ్ ద్వారా బకెట్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి. సో నేను ఏది చూపిస్తానంటే నేను మాన్యువల్ గా ఎలా చేయాలి అని చూపిస్తాను, బట్ సో మీరు త్రూ టెరాఫామ్ ఎలా చేస్తారనేది చేయండి. ఓకేనా?
ఓకే బ్రో.
గైస్ అండర్స్టూడ్? సో మాన్యువల్ గా ఎలా అని చూపిస్తాను నేను. సో మీరు సో త్రూ టెరాఫామ్ ఎలా చేస్తారో చూడండి. ఓకేనా? సో సేమ్ వే. సో registry.terraform.loకి వెళ్ళి registry.terraform.ioలోకి వెళ్ళి సో మీరు ఏం చేస్తారో ఆల్రెడీ main.tf ఉంది కదా, ఈ main.tfలో మీ S3ని S3 బకెట్ మాడ్యూల్ని ఇక్కడ రాయండి. సో ఆల్రెడీ EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ రాసేది కదా, ద నెక్స్ట్ రిసోర్స్ ఇస్ S3 రాయండి. S3 రాసిన తర్వాత టెరాఫామ్ అప్లై చేయండి. ఓకే. ప్రొవైడర్స్ documentation, go to S3. So AWS. So what is the resource? Resource is AWS underscore S3 underscore bucket. So you can choose the any of the example and you can create the bucket. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I will show you how to create a bucket in the console. I will show you how to create a bucket in the console. So did you guys are practiced with IAM or not? So in the search bar, what you can search? S3. It's already created my afternoon bucket. So I tried to delete this bucket. Sorry. So select, delete. This bucket is not an empty. So if it is a empty, then only you can delete the bucket, guys. Okay. Empty bucket. So permanently delete all the objects in the bucket. We'll show you once what are the objects are there. Yeah. So we have a two objects, guys, AWS EC2 and IAM PDF and website.html. So what is that website.html? So this is my website, guys. This is a website. You see, guys. So what is that static website? A bucket name, myafternoonbucket.s3.amazon.com/website.html. Guys understood, right?
Yeah, bro.
Now you understood how to access the bucket through HTTP. Yeah. So for example, if your bucket name is my bucket, my afternoon bucket, and the key is so website.html. So my bucket.s3.amazon.com/my homepage.html. So what is ours? So my afternoon bucket is the bucket name and the S3 is the S3.aws. This is the common and website dot my website. This is my website.html page. So this is a website. Guys, now you understood? So this is already created bucket. So these are the objects, guys. Everything, a photo or video or a file is nothing but an object, right? First we need to delete the objects, then only we can delete the bucket. So delete. So you need to confirm. You need to, if your folder is selected for the deletion, all objects in the folder will be deleted, and any new objects are added while deletion action in the progress might also be deleted. If an object is selected for the deletion, any new object with the same name that are uploaded before the deletion action is completed will be also deleted. So just confirm deletion, type delete in the text input field. What you need to delete? You need to type delete. Yes, we are deleting these two objects. Now our bucket is empty. Now our bucket is empty. Amazon S3 buckets. So my afternoon bucket. Now I am trying to delete the bucket. Yeah. So this bucket is not an empty. Buckets must be empty before they can be deleted. My bucket. Yeah. Permanently delete bucket. My afternoon buckets. Buckets. Delete. Yeah. My afternoon bucket. So I'm deleting everything else. So successfully deleted the bucket. My afternoon bucket is nothing but a folder. Object is nothing but a file or a video or a image, whatever it may be, guys. Guys, understood? Yeah. So what is the service? Service is S3. Once you log into the S3, so yeah, this is the screen we are seeing. So create a bucket. Okay, create a bucket. So create a bucket. General configuration. AWS region US East 1. So because of it is a default region. Bucket type general purpose or a directory. General purpose. And my bucket name is my morning batch. My morning batch is the bucket name. My morning batch is the bucket name. Next, ownership, ACLs, security, right? I already discussed, right? Access control list. So whom to provide the access. So control ownership of the objects written into this bucket from other AWS accounts, and the uses of access control list. Object ownership determines who can specify access to this object. So these are the bucket ownership, guys. So block public access settings for this bucket. Block all the public access. No, I'm enabling the turning off the block all public access might result in this bucket and objects within bucket public. So we are providing a public bucket versioning. So I already told you, right? Bucket version is so as of now I'm disabling the bucket versioning. So default encryption. So bucket key, everything will be disabled as of now. Just I'm creating the bucket. So acknowledge. If you are making your bucket as a public, you need to specify the acknowledge, because of everyone can access the bucket. Everyone can access the bucket, right? So in the real time, so the bucket will not be a public. So will not be a public, guys. So my morning batch is the bucket. So I created the a bucket. What are the attributes? Objects, properties. Properties is nothing but a settings. Bucket versioning, tags, default encryption, intelligent tiering, archive configuration, server access logging, AWS cloud data, event notification, Amazon event bridge, transfer accelerations, object lock, requested page, static websiting. Guys, so static websiting. So properties, these are the these are the permissions. So what are the permissions we are? So we are we are allowing the public access, we are blocking the public access, or we are allowing the public access. So bucket policy, bucket object ownership, access control list, these all are the permissions. These all are the permissions. Metrics, these are the metrics and the management. What is the management? Life cycle management, life cycle rules. So so if the data will delete after 365 days or after 180 days, whatever it may be, we can change it. So object, properties and permissions and metric management and management, these all are the related to buckets. These all are the related to bucket properties. So we need to set the permissions for the bucket. So permissions overview, block access, so allowing everything, and then bucket policy and object ownership. So as of now, I'm disabling the access, everything, everyone can enable it. And the if you enable the public access, if you enable the ownership, acknowledge bucket owner preferred or object writer, bucket owner, and the and we need to enable the access control list too. So here public owner, yes, read and write, but everyone right, in the static website everyone can see the our web pages, right? We need to provide the access. So everyone list read. So authentication users list read, or else only the public access we can provide it. Yeah, we have provided the public access. You see here. Yeah. So the everyone can list and read. List and read. So this is the cross region resource sharing. Replication, right? This is the replication. Cross region sharing, right? Yeah. So management. So management console, I will tell you. Objects. If you want to upload a object, for example, uploading. So if you can drag and drop also, it will drag and drop the files and folders if you want to upload here, or choose a add files or a add folders, right? So something like a replication file, I'm adding it. Yes, just you can upload. Yeah, the file is uploaded. The file is uploaded. You can check it. So this is the replication. So replication file, buckets. So bucket is a public. So this is the bucket, your bucket. In your bucket, you can. So what are the objects you added? You added the replication controller. So replication a controller, and I will show you website. H1. I'm creating a just a small HTML file. Close the body. Close the body and close the HTML. HTML. So just this is a save as new webs. new website.html. Okay, new website.html. I'm uploading the file, upload a file, add a file, desktop, new website.html, right? Upload the file. Yeah, guys, my morning. So we have a two files uploaded. So we have a two files uploaded. So I'm trying to access this file. I provided the permissions to the bucket only, not the objects. Not the objects. Let's try the static website, right? Just click it. So what it is showing? It is showing a access denied. It is showing a access denied. I provided the full permissions to the bucket, but not provided the permissions to the object. You see, guys, this is the object new website.html. In the object, the public access is disabled. The public access is disabled. If you want to edit, you can edit it, and everyone can read it and list it. So I understand the permissions and save. Now let's try. Yeah, this is newly created website is a web WhatsApp. This is a web WhatsApp. Guys, my website is working or not working? My static website. So nothing to do. It's just a static pages. Just a static pages. And you can see the and you can see the objects and you can see the objects in the URL also. The replication control. Let's check the replication controller. Is it working? Is it able to access? No. We are unable to access the object. We need to provide the permissions to the object also. So we need to provide the permissions to the objects also. Then only we can see it in the browser. So then only we can see it in the browser. Let's check now, right? So this is the replication controller manifest file. So we can able to see it. We can able to see it. Guys, understood? The buckets and the objects. How you can create the bucket and how you can create the objects, right? The bucket and the properties. In the properties, bucket versioning is disabled. I'm enabling the yeah. So before enabling buckets, my morning.batch. So I'm trying to upload again my website dot add a file or a replication, right? So replication dot file upload uploaded successfully my morning batch. Yeah, you see. So it will not uploaded the new file. So when I open the properties and enable versioning, yeah, enabling versioning, my morning batch. What are the buckets? The buckets, my morning batch. So I'm trying to add a same file replication. This is newly added line. So Control S, saving this file, save file. Yeah, let's try to add upload, add a file. You see guys, so this is the old file, this is the new file. New file is created at 7:45:45. The file contains, this file is blocking. Yeah, we need to give the permissions to this file also. So we need to give this file. Yeah, you see, this is newly added a line, right? Understood? So if you add the versioning, if you add any content of the file, any content of the file, it will be allowing the versioning concept. It will add a new file just with the same name, with the same name, but there is a version ID. There is a separated with a unique version ID. So this is the versioning. So this is the versioning and the management. So create a life cycle rule. If you create the life cycle rule, enter the life cycle rule name. So after 360 days, after 360 days, limit of the scope of this rule is using one or more filters. Apply all objects of the buckets. This is the all objects. So life cycle rule actions. Move current version of the objects between the storage classes. Move non-current version of the objects between the storage classes. So expire current version of the objects. Permanently delete non-current version of the objects. Delete expire object. Delete the marker or incomplete multi-part uploads. So if you choose these rules, it will automatically current version and non-current versions. So expire the current version of the objects. Number of days, 180 days. So 180 days it automatically deletes objects expires. Objects expires. You see? So this is the rule. Or whatever the buckets in the buckets, whatever the objects in the buckets, so it will delete automatically 180 days. And we can set to the storage classes from standard to glacier, standard to glacier. So and the replication ones, so you can use the replication also, the bucket, the properties. Yeah, so edit the static website, enable. So if you use the static website, so here web site.html or new website.html, right? New website.html, it will automatically upload. So this is the line. Yeah, it will automatically see it in the browser. Permissions. So bucket policies, ownership, object ownership, cross region. So here also cross region, resource sharing. So the cars cross region association configuration cars. So written in JSON. So defines a way of a client web application that are loaded in one domain to interact with the resources in the different domain. So these are the cars guys. The cross region, edit cross region resource sharing. So bucket automation is 3. Yeah, so here multi-region access points. So multi-region access points. Create a multi-region access points, and you can access the cross region replication. So this is the replication. Guys, understood? You can provide the regions and it will automatically store the data. If you create the multi regions, 2 regions, it automatically store data in the, it automatically copy the data. So multi-region point name, something like buckets, what are the buckets we need to add, and the bucket public access settings to the multi-region access files. We can set it and we can create it. So whatever the create my morning batch, my morning batch, so it will point to the another location, another leisure location, and created a bucket, and it will copy it. Whatever you are creating the objects in the here, it will automatically copy it to the that bucket. Guys, understood? So you guys can do this multi-region. That is also one of the tasks, guys. Create a replication for the newly created bucket. So bucket is nothing but a folder. Object is nothing but a file, guys. Guys, understood? So guys, this is S3. You guys can create the S3 bucket through. So you can try first manually, then you can try with the Terraform. Okay? Guys, understood?
Okay.
Yep, thank you.